Hey, Gaz, it's great to see you. There's so much to talk about. We need to talk about Macron's state visit. I want to talk to you about the one in, one out scheme, what's going on with getting rid of jury trials. We've got politicians, as usual, who can't answer a simple question. And I don't know why it's now unacceptable to wear a Union Jack dress, but apparently it is. But firstly, what about doctors' strikes? What are your thoughts on that? Because they are looming.
Not very happy, if I'm honest. So, obviously, the Labour government, first thing they did when they got into power was agree a 22% pay rise for the junior doctors. I think that was to be spanned out over a 2-year period. The latest where we are at the moment is that BMA are now calling for a 29% increase in wages. So as it stands, I feel like we're probably going to be paying about 40% of our income tax towards junior doctors' salary. I mean, they're basically saying that they've not been compensated since about 2008 in terms of their pay matching inflation. But yeah, it's just a little bit strange. I mean, if you think about it, when Labour did get into power, they kind of gave them this pay rise, along with the train drivers, threw all this money at junior doctors, kind of didn't ask them for anything, which I thought was a little bit strange. Usually, if I have an employee and I'm going to give him a stonking 22% pay rise, I'll probably tell him that I want him to turn up on time for work.
No increase in productivity, was there? There was no performance improvement attached.
Not really. I think it was just a case of, Labour are kind of bound by the unions. Obviously, the unions are the Labour's biggest donor, so obviously they're the tail that wags the dog. But it just seems a bit strange that after such a large pay rise, and don't forget that the BMA did say that was a good. As soon as they gave them the pay rise, the BMA turned around and went, "Well, that's a good starting point." So I think if you look in line with the private sector and the public sector, in terms of wage rises, I think the public sector have been getting what would you say? The squeaky wheel gets the grease type scenario. I would prefer the squeaky wheel to get replaced sometimes, but in terms of...
Right, well, there's a few things here because, okay, it fundamentally comes down to how much you want to pay people, but actually, more fundamentally than that, it's can you afford to pay them this amount of money? And I think it's a bit crazy that we're even considering giving a 29% pay rise to a group of people, as you say, have just had a 22% pay increase the year before. They're also getting a 5-point-something% pay increase in, I think it's October. So there's another increase anyway.
4%. I think it was 4% plus a one-off payment of 750 quid. So yeah, it was like 5.2%, which isn't bad on the back of a 22% pay rise. I'd say that's, quite decent, if I'm honest.
So Emma Brunswick, who's the deputy chair of the British Medical Association, sounds like it's a sort of patient-orientated body, doesn't it? But actually, that's just the union for doctors. But they just don't call it a union because I guess that's maybe a bit low rent for them. It probably sounds a bit too blue-collar for the doctors. But the interesting thing is that not all of the doctors voted to strike. So about 90% of them voted to back the strike action. But the turnout was 55%. So that means that actually less than half of eligible voting doctors actually voted for this strike action anyway, which, by the way, is 5 days. 5 days of strike action. So I believe I'm right in saying that they're only going to have cover maternity and emergency care. So all of these extra appointments that Labour claims it's given out or made available, they are all going to be cancelled. So I think there's a thing about, is it actually morally right to strike for 5 days if you are a doctor? Should we ban doctors from striking? I don't know. But the woman that I'm talking about, Dr. Emma Brunswick, so she actually said that some specialist residents were only being paid £34 an hour. And she said you'd pay a plumber more than that. But actually, I did a little bit of a fact check on that, and I went on the Checkatrade website, and apparently plumbers are paid an average of £22 an hour. And of course, they haven't got the gold-plated pensions that NHS workers get, have they?
Yeah, so look, people are going to die. People are going to die. I just think they're bad eggs at the moment. I think the general public aren't going to be too happy with this. I think it's hard to lose. It's easy to lose sympathy for them. So I don't know. Let's see where it goes. It's a shambles, Justine.
Well, look, I think doctors are reasonably well paid. I think like I said, at the end of the day, we can't afford to pay doctors anymore. Who's going to pay for it? Because where is the money coming from? It is as simple as that. And there just isn't the money there to pay these increased pay rates. And I know doctors are saying, oh, well, we'll go off to Australia or we'll go off to New Zealand. Well, I don't know how many placements are available in Australia or New Zealand, but I'm sure it'll get to the point where there aren't any placements left. So I don't buy into this whole thing that if we don't pay doctors more, that they'll all just leave the country. I mean, leaving the country is quite a big deal. It's quite a big thing to do. So, yeah, I'm not convinced that's going to happen, but I can't see. Wes Streeting has said he's not going to move, that he's not interested in, he's not going to budge, that he's not going to pay more money, but that he's interested in reviewing pay conditions. They're meeting in a few days, so I guess we'll find out. More then.
Let's see who blinks first. Let's see who blinks first.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see if it's Wes Streeting. I mean, Labour are pretty weak, aren't they? So let's see what happens. I mean, how many times can I actually say, let's see what happens? It's getting a bit boring.
Everything's boring to you. Frigging solar eclipse is boring for you. You know what I mean?
Well, the French are pretty good at avoiding strike action. So
yeah, they're brilliant.
Maybe we could get some pointers. Maybe Emmanuel Macron can give some pointers to Wes Streeting on how to avoid strike action.
Well, yeah, there's been a lot to. He's had a lot to say, hasn't he? He's come over for his nice little state visit. What was it? 3 days? 3 days in total.
So.
Yeah, so he's done the rounds. He went on a nice little horsey ride with the king. Told us all that we're all duped into Brexit. I also believe he did a cheeky little wink to the Princess, Kate, which I didn't really see myself. I haven't seen any video of that. I've seen a picture of it, but I'm not sure that I've seen a video. So I'm not sure if that's a little bit of manipulation there. I mean, I've seen a picture of his face like that, but I mean, have you actually seen a video of him proper like?
No, I haven't seen the video. I've seen the picture. I mean, it's quite fun, but quite frankly, the guy shouldn't be here in the first place. I don't even know why we're giving this guy a state visit. I mean, it's his country that's facilitated 160,000 illegal migrants crossing the channel. We've paid them £750 million to try and prevent illegal migrants from crossing the channel. And quite frankly, the guy should be deported. He's just a complete and utter grifter, quite frankly. And I think it's outrageous that we've even given the guy a state visit, because he is just not doing anything to try and turn these boats back. It's just all nonsense. What he's saying, he's trying to justify, he's trying to justify his position on everything by saying that, it was better when we were in the EU. It's our fault. It's the Brexiteers' fault, because now there isn't an arrangement for migrants to go back because we're not in the EU. And he even said that we were stronger with the European Union. I mean, what does he think? We're all suddenly going to fall over ourselves and desperate to get back in the EU?
Well, yeah, I'm desperate to pay the 30% tariffs that Trump's going to put on the EU. I mean, at this point, I feel like the UK is becoming the British equivalent of Ned Flanders. So it's kind of like, that 750 million we gave you, Emmanuel. Can you stop a few of those migrants? Shut up, Flanders. Well, can we have that money back? Shut up, Flanders. Can you stop a few of the boats coming over? Shut up, Flanders. Like literally, like we give them I think it's 800 million now. Like literally, we give them £800 million. They bought a few doom buggies. They're all flying around on the nice new toys. It's a pity they didn't give them any wellies to stop so we could get them wading into the sea a little bit to puncture some of them boats. But
Well, they did puncture one, but they conveniently did that. It was funny how there was a BBC journalist around, and we've not heard any stories of them puncturing any other boats. I mean, they did arrest the one guy. They smashed the gangs, didn't they? They arrested that one guy who apparently was selling all the boats.
He couldn't smash an egg.
Well, I don't know where they got the boats from, because apparently he smashed the gangs when he did that big press conference, didn't he? Saying that they've smashed the gangs. So, yeah, I just think the guy has come over to the UK. He's told us that the migrant crisis is all our fault. He's told us that we shouldn't have done Brexit. Brexit shouldn't have happened. He's told us what we should be thinking about Palestine. He's been holed up in Windsor Castle, probably speaking French the whole time. And quite frankly, I just think we should get rid of him and send him back to France. I don't think he should have been here to begin with.
Well, yes, I kind of agree, but at least we are part of the coalition of the willing. Us and France, the coalition. I would call it the coalition of the unwilling to do anything domestically. But obviously, if we can just prance about on the national stage, it looks good for Britain. It looks good for Britain if we can just ponce about on the national stage and tell everyone what we're doing, and hold hands, and just tell everyone how good relations are between us. I mean, in terms of like the coalition of the willing, I think, we've currently donated about £18 billion to Ukraine at the moment. And I think at the moment, France is about 2 billion. So I'm not sure it's much of a coalition, more of a tag along. So I kind of see him as a bit of a tag along at the moment. I just hope that Trump, when he comes across, gets the same kind of love and attention that Macron's getting, and in some way, I don't think he's going to.
Well, he's getting he's like unprecedented second state visit, which I think is at the 17th of September. But aren't they going to keep him out at Windsor so that he can't try and address Parliament or something? Or is there a recess? I think that's right.
I'm not sure, but I'm just curious to see if King Charles is going to tell him that there's no borders between the UK and America, in the same way that he said there was no borders between England and France. I mean...
Well, he's right, there's no borders, because people are just coming across on these boats or coming in the back of lorries. We haven't got any borders, have we? It's ridiculous. It's utterly pathetic. I mean, if I go across the channel on the Sally Ferry, or whoever the ferry company is now, on the Eurostar, when I get to the other side, I've got to show my passport at the border control. But anybody can just sail across here and just waltz up onto the beach.
Well, I mean, if you did get taken out, at least you would be part of the fantastic one in, one out deal that they've managed to cite. It's a groundbreaking deal, one in, one out. And it's going to match the business model of this one in, one out. I mean, what do you think to one in, one out? Are you happy with that? Throw it back to you.
Honest to God, the whole thing is completely and utterly pathetic, and it's just an insult to the intelligence of ordinary taxpayers. So this deal, apparently, it's a pilot scheme, but nobody really knows what the terms of the pilot scheme are. And nobody knows, I don't think we know how long it's going to be. Maybe it's 3 months, but we don't know how we will judge whether or not this is a success or not. But they're going to allow, I think, is it 50 migrants to go back? But that only represents about 5% of the amount of people that cross illegally in the boats. So they're trying to say that people who have got family here, they'll be prioritised. So the people who've got family here can come here, but people who come here illegally will then get shipped back in their place. But they're only going to allow a certain number. But ultimately, we still end up with one extra person. So I don't understand how this benefits us at all.
And surely it's
how does it work? How's the math? So if it was like 48,000, whatever it is, who've come into the UK in the last year. So if that happens in the next year and we ship out 2,600, I think is the number. So that is 50. Yeah, that's 50 a week, 2,600. That's about 5.5% of the people who are coming over illegally. I'm baffled.
And why does it
How does this help us?
Why does it need a pilot scheme? Why do you need a pilot scheme to send 50 people back? I mean, what is so complicated? If the issue is there's no willing there. I mean, if you can send 50 people back, then surely you can send them all back. And having one in and one out doesn't address. See, that's the thing. Everyone just assumes that because people don't want illegal immigration, that everyone is far right thugs and racist. But the problem is, as our population grows and grows and grows, partly because of immigration, it's putting stress on everything. It's putting stress on everything in the UK, the NHS, the water. I mean, look we've got hose pipe bans. There's not enough water. It's putting
half the water leaks out of the pipes anyway.
Well, exactly. I mean, look at, school places. There's not enough school places. There's not enough housing. So one in, one out actually doesn't address the core issue here, that this is a tiny little island, and it does have a border. It's got a massive 24-mile wide. There's a massive sea in between us and France. Yeah, there's a big border there. And at the end of the day, we are a tiny, small island. I think we're one of the densest populations in the world down at the south of England. And we just can't fit any more people in here. So it's not about being racist. I don't care what colour your skin is. What I do care about is if another 200,000 people are coming into this country, and then they're getting asylum, then they get to bring their relatives over, because it's a cumulative effect. For every person that comes over, which probably costs about £42,000 a year, I think was the estimate that it costs, that person is going to have family members. That person is going to have children that are then, by definition...
Once they're granted right to remain, once they're granted right to remain, they'll be able to come over.
It's like a knock-on effect, because then all their family are going to say, well, now that, Joe Bloggs has been granted asylum in the country, well, I'm his family member. I've got a right to be in the UK because I've got a family member. So at what point does it stop? I mean, can we literally house the whole world? I mean, at what point does enough become enough? Because as far as I can see, the bill for these migrants is just getting large. I mean, we're talking about £8 billion.
Well, it's just not sustainable. It's completely and utterly sustainable. Who is funding? Who's going to fund it? Who's going to pay for it? Well, you and me are going to pay for it. Small business owners are going to pay for it. Working people, we're going to have to pay for it. And ultimately, you're right, because the thing about this one in, one out scheme is what they're saying is legitimate asylum seekers who are coming via safe routes, they'll be allowed to come in, and they're going to prioritise people who have already got family here. So if you've already got family here, how are we going to prove that somebody is related to somebody? Are we going to start doing DNA tests? We don't do DNA tests on people when they land here.
Are we talking close family? Here. Brothers, sisters, mothers, or third cousins? Or godfather?
All you're going to do is you're just going to be in a rent an uncle scheme, aren't you? Where basically you say, oh yeah, my uncle lives in wherever, in Kent or wherever it is. And that person is my uncle or my auntie or whatever. And then as soon as they get here, they're going to be sending back saying, oh yeah, that person is my niece or nephew or brother or whatever. But what are we going to be doing? DNA tests? Because we've already seen many examples where people who have appealed immigration tribunal cases where they have claimed that they are under 18. And some of these people, the narrative, the descriptions that I've read of how these men looked, there's people who clearly are in their 20s and 30s, okay, based on the descriptions of them. And the courts have said, no, they say they're under 18 and there's nothing to prove they're not under 18. Therefore, we treat them as they're under 18. I mean, it's just absolutely, nonsense.
There's people in secondary schools with 5 o'clock shadow. It's just like literally, you can say whatever. I mean, how can you prove it?
Well, I think there probably are, boys in schools with 5 o'clock shadow who are 15. I mean, I don't think that's unusual. I don't think everybody's got a face a baby's bottom till they're 18.
Yeah, but when the hair coming through is grey, it's a bit of a giveaway, isn't it? You know what I mean? When you've got when you've got someone who's grey haired, got grey hair growing, and they're in the year, well, I can't remember, year 10. In secondary school, you've just got to be a bit sensible about this stuff. And, it kind of just proves to me like the relationship between, the citizens of the UK and the government is like being in a relationship with a narcissist. Because I remember, obviously, when we had the Rwanda deal, it was a bit of a deterrent, because people were scared, and they thought, well, maybe we'll get sent to Rwanda. But I think, thinking back, that they only ever had places for about 500 people in Rwanda in total. So then when this one in, one out came in, I thought, well, at least, one in, one out, they're going to take 50 people a week away. So, that's going to be a lot better than the Rwanda scheme. But then I thought, hold on, I'm literally excited that more than 500 people are going to be deported, and like the other 95% are going to be here. And I'm like, well, at least it's going to be better than Rwanda. And that is like literally the definition of being a narcissistic relationship, is like, even though it's the crappiest deal of all time, you're like, thank you so much. You've made such a big improvement. We're going to disrupt the business model. It's going to be fantastic. Oh, Kia, you're amazing. I mean, France have got their own Rwanda deal, and that's called Britain. Literally, they are literally just shifting every immigrant they don't want to Britain.
I love that.
And it's like, it's just crazy. I mean, it's just stupid things that people see. Like, there's no borders between Britain and France. Well, you spend a lot of time trying to enforce the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland. And as far as I can remember, isn't there a massive border within the sea between the UK and Ireland now because of the EU? So as far as I can see, borders do matter. Borders are very, very, very important.
Well, they matter to the EU when when it suits them,
apart from when
it?
It's illegal immigrants. And
exactly.
If I, I'm being a bit playful here, but if I was a rogue state such as Russia or Iran, and I decided that I wanted to get a force into the UK to cause havoc, what better way would there be than to send all your soldiers in civilian clothing across on boats with no way of checking who they were? I mean, for me, it's a national security risk. It's actually it should be declared a state of emergency. So this one in and one out, I'm not allowed to swear on this podcast, but this one in, one out is a load of tosh. It just doesn't make any sense. It's not. The fundamental problem here is security. It's a national security risk as far as I'm concerned. And it's not reducing the levels of people coming into this country. We're seeing record numbers of people.
Yeah, whatever France and Britain have done so far. So apparently, this groundbreaking pilot scheme, which Starmer said is going to. The migrants are going to be detained and returned to France in short order. I mean, these silly phrases he comes out with. The guy just looks completely and utterly ridiculous. But the problem is, the French aren't bothered, and I can understand it. The French people do not want all of these people in their country either. But the thing is, by facilitating people to get across the channel, France is not helping itself, because they are a pull factor. So they say that, Macron says that our working conditions, etc., in our country are a pull factor. So they say, you don't have ID cards, so it's easy to get work over here. I mean, in France, they don't give them all the accommodation that we give them. They're all living in flipping tents, aren't they? So, they don't get housed in hotels. So why would you stay in France when you can come over to Britain, you can get put in a hotel, you can get given some spending money, and then you can go and work in the black market and go and do your Deliveroo or Uber Eats or whatever. So there's no realistic prospect that you're actually ever going to get deported, because number one, they'll have to find you first, because many people disappear when they're having their asylum claims processed anyway. So people can work in the black economy here. And he's saying, oh, well, it's too easy for people to be able to work illegally in the UK or to work in the UK when they haven't got their papers. But the fact is, the laws are there, but we're not enforcing the laws. So we've already got laws that mean that you can't work if you're an asylum seeker. So the question there is about enforceability, and it's about, It's a question about enforceability, and it's about the money that you actually put in to managing people when they actually get to the UK. We just send them off to live in hotels, and who's checking up on these people? Well, the answer is nobody is checking up on these people. But ultimately, the French are also, they're allowing them across the channel, and in my opinion, they are just as responsible. They are responsible because they're the ones who are letting them cross. And I don't believe that they can't spot these people. They're trying to claim that they've stopped tens of thousands of people crossing the channel. Well, maybe they have, but they're not stopping enough of them. And why don't we just, there's lots of different things that we could be doing, but nobody has got the kahunas to do it, quite frankly.
Well, £1 billion is £1,000 million. Right, we're spending £8 billion a year on housing illegal immigrants that are coming to this country. For £8 billion, we could probably station a person on the beach every 100 meters all along that beach where these boats are setting off from, and we could puncture every single boat that attempts to cross the channel. We're talking £8,000 million a year. We could literally we could employ a border force that could all just link arms and create a human shield to stop them. £8,000 million. And this figure's only going to grow and grow and grow. And then when in the autumn, when Rachel Reeves says, "Oh, we're going to have to hire taxis because we've got a £40 billion £8 billion a year, love, is what you're spending on people that you shouldn't have let in here." Now, I can't understand why we don't declare a state of emergency. We should declare a state of emergency and have boats patrolling the channel and physically turning these boats back. I know potentially they'll all jump in the water. Tow them back. Just put them all on a bungee rope, tow them back, do a handbrake turn and whip them all back onto the beach. If we closed the channel border, if we were strong for 2 months and committed and said, not a single boat will make it over the channel. We've had enough. Not a single boat is going to make it over the channel. I guarantee you, within 2 weeks, it would stop. But it's like they're just not coalition of the willing. They're coalition of the unwilling.
Yeah, but then also, if you were forceful in turning the boats back and preventing people from arriving on our shores, they would stop going to France to try and get to Britain, wouldn't they? They'd go somewhere else because they know they're not going to get to Britain. But we are way too welcoming, and we are just not. There's no deterrent. It's the land of milk and honey. Everything's for free. They probably, a lot of these people, I imagine, either know people who are over here or have got work with the smuggling gangs. They've got work planned out with them. I mean, and don't forget, a lot of these peoples are actually like victim of traffickers as well. I mean, these gangs are absolutely terrible. I've heard about some awful stories about what's going on in France in these kind of like woodland encampments where people are being kneecapped and all sorts of things because they're not doing what the smugglers want them to do. I mean, this is just complete and utter lawlessness. But you're right, it's a state of emergency. If we cannot protect our own border, I mean, it's nonsense. We're going to war with we're providing weapons to Ukraine because we want them to be able to defend their territory against Russia. I mean, we're lending them absolutely billions, but we're not prepared to do the same thing to stop people entering our territory. What is the difference? I just don't see what the difference is.
There isn't a difference.
We should set up loads of detention centres, and we should make these people should have to live in these detention centres until they've had their claims for asylum processed. But I wouldn't even process the claims for asylum because I would enact a law that says that if you try and enter the country illegally, you are permanently barred from ever claiming asylum. And that should be enacted into law. But the problem is you've got lawfare. As soon as lawyers get hold of all this stuff, this is what's going to happen with this one in, one out. As soon as somebody's going to get sent back as part of the scheme, some lawyer will jump up with Article 8 rights saying, oh, yeah, but my legal migrant has actually got family here too. And the judges will just overrule them. And that is what's going to happen. It's not going to get through the courts. It's just going to all get bogged down by the human rights lawyers, which is what happens all the time, because the country's basically just run by lawyers.
Well, we're in a position where someone prevented themselves from being deported because their main defence was that their child wouldn't like the chicken nuggets if he went back home. That is literally a reason for not being deported, that my child won't like the chicken nuggets if I go back home. It's just absolutely bonkers. It's as though it's like an ideology. It's like all these people that are in power have this like do-gooding attitude. We have to just be nice. We have to just be nice. But at what expense? At what expense are we going to go to? To what length are we going to go to be nice? I mean, we say we're Europeans. We're all Europeans. Well, the French don't give any of these migrants hotels. They let them all live in tents.
Yeah, exactly.
So why are we giving everyone hotels?
Why are we gold plating? We're just gold plating.
Because we don't want to see people in tents. But at the same time, there has to be a tipping point. There has to be a point where we cannot physically. There's only so much. I mean, we've got the highest tax burden since the Second World War. I mean, we're in peace times. Okay, we need to get on a war footing because of Russia and all that rubbish. But I mean, at the end of the day, Russia ain't going to invade the UK. That's all kind of trumped up. But, we're in peacetime and we've got the biggest tax burden since, the Second World War. So what is happening to all our tax dollars? What are they doing? What are they spending it on? Because at the moment, people see, economic refugees for the most part. I mean, I don't see a lot of women and children. I'm all right for helping the kids. Save the kids. Yeah, fine. But when we're seeing big 40-inch flat screen TVs being delivered to migrant housing depots, and they're getting given mobile phones and money for cigarettes, and every other and benefits. They're getting given benefits in the UK. They've never paid anything towards these benefits, and we're just
exactly. And there's just been some.
But who's paying?
There's just been some new figures out about the number of people the number of migrants claiming universal credit since I think it's 1.3 million. I mean, I don't even know what the number is. We'll do a fact check in a minute. But yeah, I mean, it is absolutely insane. Why am I working and paying tax for all this? I don't want this. I didn't vote for this. I never asked for this. I don't want it. This is being imposed on me. I haven't got a problem with legitimate migration. I don't care what colour, what race, what religion people are, but come here and do something constructive and stop breaking in to our country, to my country, and basically stealing taxpayer cash, because that's what they're doing. This is theft. It's breaking and entering, and then they're stealing, and it's robbery, and that's what it is. And I have absolutely had enough of it. And the government's not going to do anything. Nobody is going to do anything. The only people who can do anything are the voters, and all we can do is at the next election just vote to get this awful Labour government out and hope that whoever the common sense thinking public decide to vote in, that actually they are going to do something about this and try and literally turn around what is happening and try and reverse some of the damage. But it's going to be incredibly difficult to do. There is a big, long road ahead because we've got years and years left of this. And I don't believe, on this scheme, it's a load of old rubbish. Macron is no friend of Britain. The only thing he's interested in is his EU project. I mean, this is a guy, don't forget, who when we left the EU, didn't he threaten to turn our electric supply off, threatened to turn off one of the main electric cables? I think I'm right in saying that. But yeah, I mean, there was some good news that came out of the state visit, which is apparently we're going to get the Bayeux tapestry back, and we're going to get to borrow that, and it's going to go to the British Museum. So
that's nice.
We are going to get the tapestry. They're not going to. I don't know if they're going to take one migrant in exchange for the tapestry, but it's been with them for hundreds of years. But yeah, maybe they'll take one migrant in exchange. I don't know how many migrants are worth a tapestry on loan. I've got absolutely no idea. But yes.
Well,
That's what I've got to say
I think,
on that. We'll probably cut that section out.
I think no. We need to discuss the tapestry. We need to discuss it. I mean, tapestries are amazing. I mean, I'm always up for looking at a nice tapestry.
You know, it's difficult to trust what politicians say. I mean, we've just had what happened in the House of Commons this week with Lee Anderson and Ed Miliband. I mean, utterly ridiculous.
Well, yeah. So I think Lee Anderson asked him the question as to, you know, how much the global temperatures would fall once we achieved net zero. And Ed Miliband couldn't answer the question because it feels like it's just a load of nonsense. I'm not saying global warming is nonsense, but, you know, his answer was, I believe in Great Britain, you know, but I'm not sure he even believes in net zero, if I'm honest. I mean, you know, we've heard this 1,000 times, but the UK produces about between 1% and 2% of global emissions. We've got some of the most expensive energy prices in Europe. We've been forced onto buying these electric vehicles. We're trying to smashing all this infrastructure for charging electric vehicles that nobody wants. And at the end of the day, if we achieve as a nation net zero by 2050 or whatever it is, what are we actually going to contribute to the global output as a whole, or what are we going to save? We're going to save no more than 2%. I mean, China are opening a coal mine, a coal-powered station every week or something like that. It's like they are pumping out tons and tons and tons of CO2. Something like 30% of global emissions are coming from China. America have lost interest in it. I'm just not sure why we're being pushed so fanatically into this net zero project, because it doesn't seem to make any sense. And, you know, we live in a capitalist society. So once something's good and the technology is there and it makes money, the market will naturally move to that. So if we get into a position where solar panels are generating all the electricity, everyone's got lithium batteries are so cheap that everyone can have one installed in the house, just like Elon Musk wants. And the technology is so cheap that people actually save money by not using oil or coal, then the market will move towards that. What I'm seeing is they've just launched a new grant, a new scheme where they're going to give more taxpayers money to try and get people to buy electric cars. I mean, it just feels like we're being forced, kicking and screaming, into something that's just not ready yet. And I get global temperatures are changing. Now, there's a lot of debate whether, you know, that's man-made or whether it's just the natural order of things and it's just happened naturally. You know, people are going to be arguing about that for 100 years, but I do feel like we are paying the price day to day for crazy Ed.
Yeah, so in the chamber, as you say, Lee Anderson said, how much would the Earth's temperature be reduced if the UK became net zero by tomorrow? And basically, Ed Miliband's answer said that Lee Anderson, there was an answer, but Lee Anderson didn't want to accept it. And the answer was that he believes in British leadership and he believes in Britain's ability to make a difference. And that Lee Anderson just talks Britain down. And I believe in Britain is what he said. So he didn't actually answer the question. So we don't actually know if we became net zero tomorrow, how much the Earth's temperature would be. It is a simple question. And apparently there is an answer, but he doesn't know the answer. And he's supposed to be the Minister for Energy or whatever his title is. But it's just indicative of the problem with this government, that in the House of Commons, when somebody is asking a question to a minister, that they just turn around and actually do not answer the question. If the only
he doesn't know the answer.
If the only thing he can say is, I believe in British leadership, but can't actually tell us what the outcome of all the stuff he's going to spend billions and billions of pounds on.
Trillions.
And he shouldn't,
trillions.
He shouldn't be a minister. He shouldn't even be there. I mean, the whole thing with net zero. Well, the other thing about what happened in the chamber was the next person who came in was Stella Creasy. And she actually said, she was doing all the tutting because, of course, nobody liked Lee Anderson's question. She said, oh, thank God there's somebody in this chamber who's actually trying to save the planet. And the thing is, I understand what you're saying. If there was something that actually was going to be picked up by people that actually saved people money, that didn't make people poorer, something that was actually effective, and we actually understood what the effectiveness of those things were, then people might be more inclined to get on board with it or not be so skeptical about it. But when the minister can't even say what the net benefit is, as in how much the earth temperature is going to be reduced, that's sounding very big alarm bells to me. And this whole thing of save the planet, for an MP to talk about saving the planet is utterly ridiculous. The planet does not need saving. The planet is a lump of rock, and the planet is going to be here for probably millions and millions of years. Whatever humans do, the Earth is going to carry on revolving round the sun. Now, I'm no astronomical or astronomy expert, but the human race will die out and the Earth will still be rotating around the sun because the human race will die out. And I think part of this of save the planet, what people don't mean save the planet, what they actually mean is save the human race, because what people can't cope with is the fact that one day the human race is going to be extinct and everything that we are, everything that we ever have been, and everything that we ever could be is all going to be gone. And that's what people can't cope with. So it's sort of, they talk about an existential threat, but what they're actually talking about is a threat to themselves that goes beyond the planet, because the planet isn't facing an existential threat. Humans are facing an existential threat, but I think they're facing that threat regardless of what happens with global warming. Because if the planet warms up and all the ice cap melts and blah, 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 everybody gets flooded, yet we hear all the disaster scenarios, but maybe it's not created by humans after all. Maybe what's happening is part of the natural cycle of the Earth. And I don't know, I'm not a geologist or a geologist. I wouldn't know how to understand these things. It's way over my pay grade. But kind of common sense says to me that humans are probably going to not outlive the lump of rock that is the planet.
Well, the planet's been here for 4 billion years already. And if you look at the whole of human existence, we've been here about 200,000 years, maximum. There was life on this planet. There's been life on this planet for hundreds of millions of years. We aren't the be all and end all. And in fact, if we look at modern history, temperatures are rising. But if you go back, hundreds of thousands of years, there's been ice ages before that weren't man-made. The planet was actually hotter millions of years ago. The planet does go through cycles. And we are just part of that cycle as humans. But at the end of the day, we are the most adaptable species that's ever been on the planet. And we are going to have to adapt to what the planet does. Now, whether that's man-made or whether it's not, we will adapt and we will overcome it in the long run. But charging the British public, I believe it's 8 trillion. Now, like I said before, 8 trillion. A trillion is 1,000 billion. £8 trillion. To do what, though?
It's obscene. It's obscene.
It is an obscene amount of money. And what are we going to do?
And nobody voted. Nobody voted for this. I mean, successive governments have come in and included net zero promises in their manifestos, but nobody actually voted for this. I mean, this is absolutely huge. Surely this is, apart from healthcare, I mean, we are basically just a healthcare system with a small economy attached to it now anyway. But it seems now we're a kind of global save the rock organization with some healthcare and a little economy tacked on to the side of it. We didn't vote for any of this. If we went out and had a referendum and you actually laid out what the costs of these things are going to be and how much it's going to impact the individual people, I don't think people would vote for it. And ultimately, we've already identified earlier in this conversation how we're already paying for millions of people who are claiming out of work benefits who aren't even from this country. So also taxpayers are going to be funding their share of whatever the net zero cost is going to be, because we're going to have to pay for other people to put their share in.
We're just one big charity case. but we're not receiving the charity. We just get this. All we do is, I feel like that's all we do. We just, anyone who's working in this country, their sole purpose is to just pay tax so that we can do these big flamboyant vanity projects such as net zero, such as welcoming everyone who wants to come into this country. Anyone who's got, any sort of ailment, mental, oh, I'm depressed, I'm anxious. Yes, or you need to be on benefits, Don't worry, this guy will pay. He's got your back. Do you know what I mean? It's not them that are doing the paying. It's like this guy will pay. Don't worry, we'll tap in for a few quid. And that goes back to what I said before. It's like all these vanity projects, all these ideological, kind of thoughts that these, like, the upper class have, the people who are running this, the elites that are running this country. It's all vanity projects, but it's just the working man is the person that is paying. You can't have a thriving economy if you haven't got cheap energy. You have to have affordable energy if you want a thriving economy. I mean, we're hardly even making our own steel anymore because they want to put the blast furnaces to like a green blast furnace. It's just all ridiculous. It's like, what are we doing? Why are we doing all these things?
Burning hemp to create steel.
I don't want to go off the subject, but let's pay reparations. Let's just give billions away there. Let's welcome everybody. Let's pay for everybody. No one needs to work. No one's ever going to suffer. But shall I tell you the only person who does suffer? The only person that suffers in this country is the person that can afford to. And that's the working man. They're the only people who are allowed to suffer, because you can only suffer in this country if you can afford it. And if you can afford it, they're going to come for it.
You must suffer. You've got cash. You must suffer.
Well, yeah, you must suffer. It's like, I feel the pain. I work. I feel the pain. I've got neighbours. They don't get up. They don't get up. They don't do anything. They just get paid not to do things, and they're quite capable. But everyone has, we just give. At what point do we turn around and say, we're going to cut out all this crap? We're going to stop. We're going to say no. We're going to say no more.
Well, you can't say no, because I'm afraid we're stuck with this government for 4 years. So yeah, we are being ruled by lawyers.
At least we have our democracy to fall back on.
Well, which brings us neatly on to the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about. Yeah. So Sir Brian Leveson was asked he's a former judge. You may have heard of the Leveson inquiry, same guy. And he was asked with the government to come up with ways of tackling the court backlog. So people are waiting far too long for trials. And so, how could we do that? So he's written this nearly 400-page report on how to do it. And one of the things that he has said is that the trial by judge alone should be introduced for serious and complex cases. And the right for a trial by jury for many offences should be withdrawn. And the interesting thing to me is the cornerstone of our democracy and our legal system, to me, and the fairness in the legal system, is the right to a trial by jury. So as it stands at the moment, for any offence, if you plead not guilty, when that goes to trial, if it's a trial that you can be elect to go to the Crown Court for, these are called either way offences, so they could be heard in a magistrate's court or a Crown Court. You can elect to go to the Crown Court and then you can get a trial by jury. But they're talking about removing some of the crimes that are each way offences, about changing the changing the classification of some offences, so you wouldn't be able to do that. So, I think this is potentially a really dangerous thing. And what strikes me is the fact that he himself actually said it wasn't something he took any pleasure in recommending, but almost like he could see no other way to get cases through the judicial system more quickly. But we've had this, we've had trial by jury for about 1,000 years. And for me, it's one area where the man in the street, the woman in the street can sort of outwit the lawyers or outwit the executive, outwit the parliamentarians, because in a jury trial, it's just 12 men and women from the street, ordinary men and women, who will decide the fate of that person. So what do you think about it? I'm guessing you've seen 12 Angry Men, where it starts out that everybody thinks the defendant is guilty, and then there's one guy who's the dissenting voice, and basically he turns them all around to agree with him. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's just crap. It's just crap, innit? It's just another example of where this country's going. Something's too hard. We're not managing it very well, so let's just drop it. Let's just drop it. Let's just not do it. Let's just not do it anymore, because we can't do it right anymore. Let's just not do it. You know, we can't stop people taking drugs. Let's just let people take drugs. Let's legalize it. You know, we can't stop crime. Let's just not do anything. It's like saying there's a massive backlog of driving tests. There's not enough examiners. We can't do driving tests, so we're just going to do driving tests on Zoom. We're just going to do driving tests on Zoom. We just can't do it. We can't. It's just too much work. We've got no money. It just makes you want to break down. It's just rubbish, isn't it? At the end of the day, it just shows again that there's no money in the system. There's so much crime. We're not prosecuting people. There's a massive backlog. The money isn't getting spent in the right places. I'd love to give you a really in-depth analytical view of it, but it is just crap, isn't it? It's just like we can't do. There's too much of a backlog. We've fallen behind. Therefore, we're just not going to do it. And then, you know, there's so many left-wing judges as well in the system, isn't there? It's like, you know, a lot of judges are left-leaning. So I suppose it is kind of dangerous as well. If you've got, if the power to make the decision is solely on the judge, how do you know at the moment the kind of climate we're in that the judge is always going to be fair? I mean, I can't remember what it's called, the Association of Judges or something. They got a load of guidance to say if an offender was from an ethnic minority, then that should be taken into consideration and they should get less of a penalty. You know, so is that what's going to happen if we haven't got a jury?
Yeah, I think that was.
Does the jury have a say on sentencing? Does the jury have a say on sentencing? Can they make recommendations? You would know this, Justine, being the legal eagle.
Well,
tell us,
I think
teach us, educate us.
The thing that you were, the judge. So the judges do the sentencing. So, but the thing that you were referring to was pre-sentencing reports. And actually equal treatment for certain people, but was it equal or not? So yeah, that was to do with pre-sentencing reports, and that's a whole different conversation in itself. But yeah, I think you talk about, you know, one would have to expect that judges are not biased. That has to be your starting point, because, you know, they take a judicial oath to execute their duty without fear or favour. And, you know, you have to expect that they are not biased. However, there is an argument to say that humans are humans and everybody will have some inbuilt biases, no matter how much they've had them trained out of them or try, even if they're aware of them, even if they're conscious of particular biases. But surely the idea of having 12 people who are lay people, in effect, who can judge with the guidance of a judge on the merits or demerits of a case and whether the person is innocent or guilty, to me, that's highly preferable to having one person in a silo, and that person, could have some deficits in some way. They could be very biased. They could have, developed mental health problems since they joined the bench. You know, there's all sorts of reasons why it's a bad idea to have one person as basically judge, jury, and executioner over anybody to do with criminal offences, because it's, you know, the idea of the jury system, what's behind it in part is to help ensure that innocent people are not convicted. And actually in the 60s, that's when it changed to majority verdicts. So I personally do not agree that people should be found guilty on majority verdicts. I actually think that guilty verdicts should only pass if it's a unanimous decision by the jury. So in a lot of crimes now, after a certain amount of time, the judge will instruct the jury that they can find based on a majority. But to me, when you think that the burden of proof or the standard of proof in a criminal case is beyond a reasonable doubt, you have to be sure. Then if you've got 12 people and 2 of them are saying that somebody's not guilty, well, then collectively, the prosecution has not proved its case beyond a reasonable doubt because the jury is not sure because 2 of them are dissenting and they do not believe that the person is guilty.
Well, it doesn't matter. You haven't got a jury. There is no jury. We're getting rid of them. So it doesn't matter.
Yes,
none of that matters.
For some cases, but they're only doing this as a temporary measure. So basically what they're saying is for expediency and to cut cost and to get things through the courts, that they will get rid of juries.
Well, let's just get rid of them all.
Actually invest some more money. Yeah, well, let's
get rid of them all.
Kangaroos. Let's have kangaroos.
Just get rid. If you don't need them, get rid of them. Get rid of them all. Let's just get rid. Who needs a jury?
Who would judge? So do you mean just have a judge then? So what?
Well, no, I'm just saying. What I'm saying is, it's either what we should be doing or what we shouldn't be doing. We shouldn't be turning around.
Exactly.
We're a bit behind, therefore we just ain't gonna do it. We're crap, and that's why I led with it's just a load of crap. It's just that's what people just want to say sometimes. God, it's just crap. It's rubbish. But talking about
you've either got
a
principle. There are either principles to defend and to operate our democracy and our constitution based on our principles, or as you say, we either have those principles or we don't. We can't.
Or we streamline. It'll
just save us a bit of cash. We'll just get through this.
Fast lane, like at the theme park, they're just going to go like, you're fast tracked, fast lane. Well, you're fast lane. You can queue. You can queue. You've been on remand. You've been on remand month. You've been on remand month. What's another year going to matter?
You're less than 1.1 metre. No, you can go through. You
say, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Once again, you are the legal eagle. But look at what happened after the Southport riots. You had, these people. Okay, some people said stupid things on Twitter. Some people made a nuisance of themselves. And you had, I can't remember that judge's name, but I can always remember that judge. What you did was so serious. It must be punished to the full extent of the law. And that guy was handing out prison sentences to one of them granddads killed themselves, by the way. And I get it wasn't a trial. They all pleaded guilty. But again, it was like, it just shows, I found that the judges in those cases, I found them to be biased. I think a lot of those people, even though they were in the wrong, I'm not advocating what anyone did or nasty things they wrote on Twitter or anything like that. They were punished to the full extent of the law. And that, to me, showed a little bit of bias in terms of how the judges treated them. Would you not agree?
Yeah, I think personally with anything, I will always reserve my judgment because I think unless you're actually there, you don't know. And we see things and we read things in the papers, but I think, it's like with many things, isn't it? We all have an opinion, but we don't necessarily know all the full details behind it.
So do we need juries or not? You answer the question then. You're Prime Minister or you're the head of the judicial system. Do we need a jury or do we not?
I think that juries are part of, fundamentally, it's about what makes our justice system fair. And I think removing juries because we need to get a few more people through the court system is completely and utterly wrong. I think we find money for all sorts of pet projects. And I think the criminal justice system is woefully underfunded and we should be putting more money into it. And that would be the thing. If I was the Prime Minister, I would be investing a lot more money into the criminal justice system. So that's the police, the courts, probation, all of those.
Catch up, stop whinging, do your job, stop being crap.
There you go.
So we need juries. Just sort your queue out.
Yeah, I think so. Find some more money. We're finding scrap next year.
Are we going to do what supermarkets do? Are we going to do self-service? Are we going to do like self-service to cut queues? Are we going to get people judging themselves? We're just going to get a court. You're going to get a big mirror. We're not actually. We're getting rid of juries, yeah, because there's a massive queue. Forget the juries, we don't need them. Then it's going to be judges are going on strike. We haven't got enough judges. The queues. We're just going to do self-service. We're going to put a big mirror and we're going to get the bad guys to just look at themselves and judge themselves, and they're going to speak their own truth. And if they want to convict themselves, that's where we'll end up. That's where it's all going.
I can't really see that that's going to work. But maybe some kind of like big Zoom call or big Zoom call or something.
Yes. Driving lessons and juries on Zoom.
There you go. So on a slightly So, speaking of being British, foundational British principles and all that. So, what do you think? You've seen this story of this 12-year-old girl who went to school on a cultural awareness day, and basically was wearing a Union Jack dress, and she was sent back from school. So the Culture Day at school was a special day dedicated to recognising and celebrating the rich cultural diversity within the school community. And the kids were told to wear their cultural dress to school instead of the usual school uniform. And it said the attire must reflect your nationality or family heritage. So a girl went to school in the Union Jack dress, and basically she wasn't allowed to participate. I'm guessing you've seen this. I'm guessing you've seen this story.
Well, I mean, it screams contradictions, doesn't it? And hypocrisy. It's just strange. It's like it's come to the point, you know, and probably leads back to the other conversations we had, where it seems that it's a bad thing to be British. Like it seems like it's a bad thing to represent your country. It's a bad thing to be proud of your heritage. It's a bad thing to be proud of your culture. And the fact that we've got so many left-leaning, you know, bedwetters in our national institutions that actually think like this is actually quite worrying, because I suppose this is where all it starts to go wrong, because, you know, you've got, you know, the teachers, they are the teachers of our youth, and they guide our youth, and they show our youth, you know, they're there to train them how to think, how to behave, and what our history is. And if we're training our own children that wearing the Union Jack is offensive or unacceptable, it just shows how far we've fallen, really, and the quality of people that we've got in the school system. And, you know, what are we teaching them is basically what I want to. And didn't that dress represent Spice Girls and girl power as well? Wasn't Jerry Halliwell meant to be representing girl power when she wore that Union Jack dress? But
yeah, I don't think Jerry Halliwell in the dress has anything to do with cultural Britain. But it
was a Spice Girls outfit. It was a Spice Girls outfit.
Yeah, I think it was similar to the one Jerry Halliwell famously wore. But I don't. Yeah, personally, I don't see why that's relevant.
Well, I
think
do.
It was the.
I do.
It was the. Yeah, I mean, I don't. I mean, I couldn't.
Well, I do.
I don't know what Jerry Halliwell's got to do with it, but
no. But what I'm saying is, you're representing your cultural heritage, your belief system, who you are, what you believe in. You're wearing a dress from the Spice Girls. It represents girl power. It represents Union Jack. It represents the United Kingdom. It represents everything British. 90s Britpop. You know, when we were proud to be British, when the British flag was everywhere. Now it's seen as an embarrassment or an acceptable. I can't understand why wearing your national flag on a day where you're meant to be celebrating your nationality and the diversity of this country. It's okay to be diverse unless you're British, by the sounds of it. It just sounds a bit strange. Maybe it was just an oddball. You do get. I bet she had pink hair. Put it that way.
Well, the school did release an apology and say they got it wrong, and, you know, did all the usual. They have done a mea culpa on it, to be fair of them. But I thought it was very interesting that apparently that the girls. I think it was the girl's father who said that students who were wearing burqas and niqabs and traditional Nigerian clothing, they were allowed in. But there was some other kids who were wearing St. George's and Welsh flags, and they also were not allowed to participate, and they were turned away. So, yeah, as you say, it's all a bit crazy. Maybe the teacher had pink hair. I've got absolutely no idea, but it's just... it's
And
just
a nasal
bonkers.
piercing, 100% a nasal piercing, 100% pink hair. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, like it or not, we do live in the United Kingdom, you know, and there's nothing wrong with being proud of the nation that you were born in and wanted to represent it. Now, if that's become something that is frowned upon, then again, it's becoming a little bit sad. We need to rid the institutions of this kind of like extreme left, you know, because if it was the other way around and someone turned up in you know, in a traditional dress from any other country and they were turned away, I mean, it would be outrage. It would be on the front page of every newspaper in the country. But why is it okay to be so awful and so sneering and look down your nose at people who want to celebrate the culture of the country they were born in? Just doesn't make any sense. I mean, so I do question how seriously we need to take this. I mean, in the reports, it said she was hauled out the class, and her dad couldn't get off work until the afternoon. She was made to sit in front of the receptionist while they
in the
glared
reception.
at her. In the reception while they all glare. I mean, if they'd have said that she was putting what do you call them things in the stocks, and people were hurling tomatoes at her. You apologist! You representative of the British colonial empire! How dare you! I mean, the story did seem a bit extreme, but at the end of the day, if it happened, it happened. It just made hold. I mean, I can just imagine two big pink-haired teachers coming in, like built like outside toilets. You know what I mean? With big nose piercings and waving a rainbow flag, picking her up one arm each. Down to reception with you, colonialist. How dare you wear the Union Jack to our Diversity Day? How dare you? Now renounce your citizenship. Renounce! In the name of Christ, renounce!
If you enjoyed watching today's episode and want to see and hear more from us weekly, please don't forget to like and subscribe. You can also find us on all major social media platforms. My name's Justine. Goodbye, and thanks for watching The T Word.